Good afternoon. It is so wonderful to see this room filled with so many faces from the past and current people that are still involved with Bill Johnson. And so I just really want to welcome everybody here today to our 20th anniversary. BJCC was established in 1995 with our grand opening on September 5th. Many of you were here for that event. And we opened with a capacity of 300 offenders assigned to the then Drug Offender Work Camp. We consisted of 5 buildings, the original 5 buildings, the 2 housing units, our education building and administration and food service, and 1 outside maintenance building. Today we're serving 758 offenders. Since 2000, we have received, or I like to think of, we have impacted the lives of over 10,000 offenders that have been received and assigned to Bill Johnson Correctional Center. Approximately 6,700 of those are in the DOWC Regimented Treatment Program, and about 3,200 are in the delayed sentencing program. We transitioned that program to Bill Johnson from William S. Key in 2010. So those numbers since 2010 have really increased our turnover rate because they don't do a very long program. So we truly do impact many offenders every year. Of the 6,500 that have completed one or the 2 programs, that gives us an approximately 89% completion rate of all people that have been assigned here. The last survival analysis that was done in 2006, so we're looking for a current one to see if we are maintaining this statistic. But at that time, and our internal statistics would indicate that we are still at about an 83% success rate. So it has been a very successful program, and it is just wonderful to be able to celebrate that today. So I would like to bring Chaplain Culberth up to do our invocation before we proceed with the rest of the program.
Join with me as we pray. Our Heavenly Father, on this occasion we pause to acknowledge your wisdom and your grace that guides the mission of the Bill Johnson Correctional Center. We thank you for those who have devoted themselves over the past 20 years to contribute to the process of the greatest miracle, which is changing lives. And we thank you for the people who have given beyond the requirements of a job to give their heart to help their fellow man. As we move forward from this day, we pray that you would grant us strength in the times we feel weak. Grant us clarity in the times we are confused. And grant us grace that we can extend to your grace to the men we serve. In your name we pray, and amen.
At this time, there are so many people that if I did all the proper introductions that I should and that are deserved, we would probably be here for hours. So I am going to do a very brief introduction for our director, Robert Patton. I'm so thrilled that he could come today and be a part of this and get to experience the community that we have gotten to be a part of for 20 years. And so Director Patton may be new to some of you. He is new to our agency, but we are very happy to have his experience, and we're certainly glad to have his presence today. Dr. Patton, please join us.
Good afternoon, everybody. My staff prepared a very nice speech that's in this book, but I'm going to kind of skip it. And then, Alex, wherever you're at, please don't go in panic mode on me. First of all, thank you, Warden, for hosting this tremendous event. For those that don't know, Warden Melton is our longest-standing warden in the state. I won't say the oldest-standing warden because that's very weird to say. But her lifeblood, her career has been poured into this facility. And this facility epitomizes what we're working towards in corrections. Corrections is a three-prong approach to turning people's lives around. And we don't talk enough about it. That first prong begins out in the community. What are we doing to keep offenders from coming to prison in the first place? What programs do we have? What community involvement do we have? So that's step one. Step two, unfortunately, involves us. You know, I look out here and I see a great-looking group of individuals, some of our brand-new officers. Where do we pick up? Where do we pick up these broken souls? It's our job to try to help them turn their lives around. And that's what Bill Johnson was built for. The mission, when you drive up and see the sign out there, it says the mission for drug treatment, diversion programs. Somewhere along the line, we lost a little bit of that. But we're turning that back around now. It is my desire, and we're working towards now, to restore totally the programs at this facility. We need to do a better job in corrections, and we're committed to doing that, of preparing offenders for release back into the community. It's our job. It's the correct in corrections. It's the smart on corrections. We're changing a lot of things in the last year and a half. There's been a lot of talk about, wow, corrections is really changing. We are. We're changing for the better because we want to turn out people from our correctional system better than when we got them. And then that last part is who's there to pick up when we're done? Where's our community involvement to help them along? I'm proud to say I'm standing here today. This is the community that everybody points to. When I give speeches to community action groups, when I give speeches to volunteer groups, I use this facility and this community as that example. If we got the state of Oklahoma to replicate what you do in this community around this state, my population will reduce in half within 6 years. Guarantee it. Because it takes a community to make people successful. It takes committed individuals to make people successful, and that's what you have in this community. You know, I'm not saying it because the speaker's sitting here. Well, maybe I am, but it takes people like Speaker Hickman who, when the budget's at its worst, sits in a room with me and others, and we say we've got to address corrections. You know, I talk about you look at the budget from last year, and I always start my talk about thanking Speaker Hickman, thanking Senator Bingham, thanking the governor's office for recognizing corrections as a key component in the budget, recognizing corrections as we start talking legislation. You don't have to be soft on crime. You've got to be smart on crime. You don't have to be tough in corrections. You've got to be smart in corrections. But most importantly, you have to have a community that supports you. And for this community, again, you are the shining examples. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I'd like to make a couple of special presentations. If I can get the mayor to come up. And I know they want some photo opportunities, so we'll do this slowly. Mayor, I had before me a governor's commendation from Governor Mary Fallin in recognition of your continued support and dedication over the last 20 years to the Bill Johnson Correctional Center. I'd like to express my most sincere appreciation to the City of Alva. The BJCC and the City of Alva continue to share a prosperous partnership seeking to rehabilitate offenders serving time at these facilities. Those efforts are a model throughout the Department of Corrections and for cities across the state. Please accept my gratitude on a job well done. Mary Fallin, Governor of Oklahoma, September 3rd, 2015. I also have a proclamation from Lieutenant Governor Todd Lamb also recognizing the work done by the City of Alva. Thank you very much. All right, got a couple more. I've got all kinds of proclamations. Warden, if you can come up, please. I have a governor's commendation for the staff at Bill Johnson's Correctional Center. In recognition of 20 years of rehabilitating citizens to live productive lives free from substance abuse through work programs, educational opportunities, and quality health care services, I would like to express my gratitude towards all involved with the Bill Johnson Correctional Center for your efforts to reduce recidivism and empower Oklahomans. Mary Fallon, Governor of Oklahoma. I also have a proclamation from Lieutenant Governor Todd Lamb that I'd like you to display as well. Thank you, Warden.
But don't run off. All right, real quick. Current and former staff, stand up and take your bow. This is about you guys. Quick, quick, quick. Up, all of you.
Don't run off. Two more proclamations from Governor's commendation is hereby presented to Janice Melton. In recognition of your service to the state of Oklahoma, the city of Alva, and the Bill Johnson's Correction Center, I express my most sincere appreciation. Over the years, you have overseen positive changes throughout the facility and in countless lives. Because of your work, the Bill Johnson Correctional Center has earned a sterling reputation within the community. Thank you for your continued dedication. Mary Fallon, Governor of Oklahoma, September 3rd, 2015. Thank you, everybody.
Well, thank you. That kind of totally unexpected. Very appreciated. And we're going to talk about all the people that are part of this amazing Bill Johnson experience. Oh. Okay. I will start out, we did not know. We wanted this to be somewhat casual, and yet we wanted to bring back so many people that have been a part of this to really celebrate this, because it is just so unique. And so there's no way I can possibly recognize everybody, and I do want you all to know that I know some of you do have to go on to yet another important event in Alva, which is the 50th anniversary of the Share Convalescent Center. So, many members of this community touch many, many things that happen in Alva. So I am going to try to not forget anyone, but they will be brief recognitions. So I will start with, I do want to introduce some of the folks. I know some of you have talked with each other, know who's here, but on our dignitary list, again, thank you, Speaker Hickman, for coming. We have our newest board member, and we couldn't be happier that he is from Alva, Todd Holder. We have a former, probably the representative who led the charge at the Capitol, and I don't want to steal any of Judge Linder's thunder on his story, but we're so glad that Representative Elmer Mattis is here. Former DOC Arnold Wagner, a personal special person. I mean, he helped design the program, and those of you that know that were here from the beginning know how involved Arnold was in creating the model, as was the vision of the community. And the model, which brought together the discipline, the structure, treatment, work ethic, and community reentry, had never been done in 1995, or 1994, I guess, when some of this started. So Arnold had a great vision and certainly provided us the leadership we needed at that time. We have a lot of firsts, and before I go on to some of the staff, I do want to introduce current Department of Correction staff. Again, we've already introduced, and again, so appreciative of Director Patton being able to join us today. My immediate boss, Greg Williams, somewhere, our division manager over Institutions West Division. There you are. Looking right at you. Okay. I'm a little nervous. And from the director's office, Kimberly Owen, Terry Watkins, and Alex, I can't say your last name yet. Thank you. Okay. Who really do a great job. You know, I think they have so much in common with Lynn Martin. They really care about getting the right message out about what goes on in corrections. And it does matter that you hear way more good things than the bad things that happen. But sadly, it often is the other way around. So I appreciate them being here to share this story. I would also, some of you noticed we took pictures and we wanted to capture some of the original, what we call the core group. And out in that area there is on a PowerPoint or on a video, the interviews that someone smarter than me, had the foresight to have the core group. And the core group are the people who planned Bill Johnson Correctional Center before we were even Bill Johnson Correctional Center, that had the vision to bring a facility to Alva. And if you haven't had a chance to listen to that, it's very powerful. And we show it for the last 20 years, we have shown that tape to every employee that comes to work at Bill Johnson, because it's really important that they have a sense of history. And those people are so important, and those individuals and their family members are still an active part. So on the original core group that are here today, Richard Ryerson, Freeland Roberts, Judge Dean Linder, I wish I might miss anybody. Members that are no longer with us, Ted Van Landingham, Don Benson, and I just think a cool thing is Don Benson's daughter, Brenda, is now the chairperson of our advisory council. So the Benson family legacy continues, and the building that we're in was in great part due to the Benson family. Pam Balls, who's also no longer with us from the chamber, and of course Bill Johnson, our namesake, and I do believe Brooke, who is the granddaughter of Bill Johnson, was able to join us to represent the Johnson family. So thank you for again, still being a part and caring about the things that we do here. At this time, I think, getting my sequence right here, I'm going to do some introductions of former staff a little bit later, but I would like to bring our current chairperson, Brenda Rose, up to introduce the current people that serve with her on our amazing advisory council, and for an introduction of our speaker.
Thank you, and thank you for asking the advisory board to be here today. We appreciate all the work that BJCC has done for the last 20 years and hope that they continue to do that work for many years to come. I would like to ask the current advisory board to please stand and to say your name and what your role is in the community, please. So, current board members. We'll start here with Freeland.
Freeland Roberts, retired career tech superintendent and original board member.
I'm Richard Ryerson. The goal I see is continuing things like this throughout the community. We touch a lot of lives, and a lot more that need to be touched. Hopefully to do that.
Lynn Martin with the Alva Review-Courier newspaper. Edward Sutter, local attorney.
Janet Cunningham, president of Northwestern Oklahoma State University.
David Payton, vice president of administration at Northwestern.
Arden Chafee, retired educator, former mayor. Kyle Eubanks, president of Act Central.
Les Miller, Mobile. Kelly Parker, chairman of the center and current mayor.
Thank you all, and thanks for being here. Now I get the honor of introducing Judge Dean Linder, who was born and raised in Winoka. He graduated with the class of 1953 and was the valedictorian of that class. Dean then went to that other school that we like to call Weatherford, and we forgive him for that. We've forgiven him over the years. He served as president of his freshman class and his senior class. He met and married his wife, Willa Dean, there. Dean and Willa Dean have raised 4 children, and they are the proud grandparents of 4 grandchildren and 1 great-grandchild. Dean graduated from that other school in 1957, and he continued his education at the OU College of Law, graduating with the class of 1960. Dean began his law career in Alva in 1960, serving as the county attorney for Woods County. He then served as county judge, associate district judge, and was elected to the district judge in 1982 and served in that position until his retirement in January of this year. Dean has been an active member of the community, serving on boards and foundations, some of which include the board of directors of the Kiwanis Club, a deacon and elder at the First Christian Church, Board of Directors for Northwest Family Services, the Northwestern Foundation, Board of Trustees for Charles Morton Share Trust Foundation, the State and Local Planning Committee for the Oklahoma Lieutenant Governor's Turkey Hunt, and the BJCC Advisory Board. Dean also provided play-by-play for Northwestern, Alva, and other area high school sports teams for 28 years. And as a result of that dedication, Northwestern will be dedicating the new press box in Dean's honor as the Dean Linder Press Box on September 12th of this year. Please welcome Dean Linder.
Brenda, I don't know where you got a copy of what I planned to say, at least in part. You know, I've asked several questions of people that were here today. We go back a long time. But the real important time period started in the early 1990s. There was a former resident of Alva who wanted to build and operate a facility for children that needed help, a reformatory, if you would. Well, there were 7 of us all together. Don Benson and Ted Van Landingham are no longer alive. Dick and Freeland certainly are. Hopefully I'm still alive. I'm a has-been, I know that, but I still have some life. There were 7 of us, and we met on a regular basis. For those of you who are not familiar with Alva, there was a well-known eating place called the VIP. Not very important people, but very important people, because Vince and Iris Pettit were the VIPs, and it was a marvelous place to eat. And many times the 7 of us met for lunch at the VIP and exchanged ideas about what needed to be done, when it could be done, and how it could be done. There's something else I want to mention to you. In 1959, there was established one of the most important entities in the history of Alva, Charles Morton Share, dedicated $2.3 million in trust. I want to cheat just a little bit because I want you to know exactly what the money was meant for. That's a lot of money, $2.3 million. And it was for the purpose, religious, charitable, scientific, literary, educational purposes, and or for the prevention of cruelty to children. There was established a board of directors. one of those original board members is with us today. It is not something with which he will be comfortable, but I have the rostrum, and Jim, I claim the right to say what I'm going to say. Jim Holder was one of those original members of the Charles Morton Share Trust. Not just an original member, he is still active. I mean active today. He doesn't have to have notes like I do because he knows everything that's happened with Charles Morton Share Trust since it was established back in 1959. He is active today with the Charles Morton Share Trust Board. Charles Morton Share Trust is every place you look in Alva, every place you look. Let me give you a little background. In 1994, when the offer was made to open a reformatory in Alva, the Slinky Seven met on a regular basis and discussed what could, should, and would be done. It came to a consensus that we did not want a reformatory in Alva. We wanted a place primarily for young adults who had fallen off the path but could get back on. And as a result, BJCC was established. One of the Charles Morton Share original trustees was Charles Johnson. Everybody called him Bill, so BJCC had an original impact on what was going to happen here. Bill Johnson was one of the 5 board members. He is no longer with us. The same is true of one of the Slinky Seven times 2. Ted Van Landingham passed away. Don Benson, who was one of the great trial lawyers in the history of Oklahoma. Let me tell you what he did with his spare time. He was very active in the quarterback club. He was active in the Lions Club. He raised 2 wonderful children. And just to make sure he had something to do during his spare time, he volunteered for and was selected to the excise board for the state of Oklahoma. That's one of the most thankless jobs there is in a community, telling people how much they're going to have to pay in taxes. That still wasn't enough. He volunteered for and was selected for a number of years to be on the Board of Education. Any of you who have had any contact with that know what a wonderful thing it is. You become the somebody that everybody can bitch to, and did so on a regular basis. That was the sort of thing that Don Benson looked for, found, and succeeded at. The word came to this community that there was an interest in building a program for wayward youth. And we made a little bit of change. And the only way we were able to make that change was as a direct effort and continuing effort on the part of Jim Holder. I had never had any direct contact with the board for Charles Morton Share. Some way I was selected to speak with that board. I have a dear friend still alive from Heavener, Oklahoma. You want a quick lesson in Oklahoma geography? It's 315 miles from Alva to Heavener. One of my dearest friends was Jim Hamilton, James E. Hamilton was President Pro Tem of the State Senate. He and Nancy had been married about 30 years when she announced to him one night as he came home about 12:30 or 1 a.m., "Jim, either you give up that Pro Tem job or look for someplace else to live. This is not going to work." So he did. He resigned from the State Senate. He was succeeded by a man by the name of Joe Johnson from Heavener. When Joe Johnson took the office, he said, "I don't replace Jim Hamilton. I do not take his place. I'm simply going to fill a temporary vacancy in the position. Anytime Jim Hamilton wants it, all he has to do is let me know, and I'll resign, and I will place his name before everyone that needs to know that he is and should be the incoming President Pro Tem of the State Senate." Oh, and did I mention, while he was waiting for this to happen, Jim Hamilton, decided that he needed more to do than simply be a father and a grandfather. He needed to be a state legislator, so he ran for and was elected to the State House, Representative Maddox, and he was effective in that regard. He was chairman of the Appropriation Committee in the State House. That has some importance, doesn't it, Elmer? That's where all of the tax bills originate. That's where all of the money is divided up to get to the right place. And he volunteered to do that. He also volunteered to a friend of his some advice. Alva was interested in becoming the site of a drug offender work camp. Senator Representative friend Jim Hamilton had some suggestions for me. I outlined to him what the Slinky Seven had decided we wanted to do, what needed to be taken into consideration before we sought the drug offender work camp. I outlined the great support of the city of Alva, the donation of the land upon which the facility would be built, the commitment of the city of Alva to use their road crew and various city employees to help with the construction. He suggested that we needed some assistance from the County Commissioners Board. First off, he said, compare that with the other communities that seek this facility. Alva, Bristow, and Cushing were three communities who were willing to fight to get the facility built in their place. And Jim said, you have a great program put together, a great offer, but let me tell you one thing you're missing. And Jim, what is that? You need to put some money on the table. I said, how much money are we talking about, Jim? He said an absolute minimum of $500,000. More would be better, but $500,000 will get you off the starting line. I don't know how I was the one who had the honor of going to the next share trust board meeting, but I did. And they were there, all of their shining faces. And I made the suggestion that not a half, not three-quarters, but a full $1 million was going to be needed to make this project possible. Jim, I'll tell you, I remember B.H. Thornton when I said that. He said, Dean, let me tell you, if we give you $1 million now, next year you're going to come back, and how damn much money do you want then? And I said, B.H., I will bet you a year after the facility is built and open, you will be coming to this organization to ask how much can you donate and when will you donate it. Jim Holder made the motion that they supply $1 million, with the addendum that only a person with his knowledge and expertise could make. And he said, we don't have $1 million laying around, but if you'll give us some time to put it together, I pledge to you on behalf of this board, with their vote, we will dedicate $1 million to build the new facility. And so it came to pass. Charles Morton Share had started with a $2.3 million trust raise with the Charles Morton Share Trust. $2.3 million was in trust. There wasn't an extra $1 million anyplace. But there was the desire, there was the promise, and there was the success of BJCC receiving the money in payments as guaranteed from the Share Trust. Share Trust has had some success in this community. There's the Share Hospital. There's the Share Professional Building. There is the Share this and the Share that. But the main thing that has been shared is the money, the prestige, and the support of the Charles Morton Share Trust for this and other communities in northwest Oklahoma. That $2.3 million, I happen to be on the trust board now. They needed somebody to fill a vacant chair, so I was asked to join them. Jim, I know you were hesitant for me to say what I'm going to say now, but I will tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that $2.3 million has now grown to almost $26 million, and there has been an annual distribution from the Charles Morton Share Trust of upwards of $2 million a year most years. That man is the man who controls the history of the Share Trust. That man is the man who has seen to it that $2.3 million has grown to over $25 million. And oh, incidentally, Charles Morton Share Trust gifts, G-I-F-T-S, over $2 million a year, every year. And again, it's for education. It's for the protection of children. It's for the betterment, primarily of northwest Oklahoma, although money gets some other places sometimes. It's an unbelievable story. I served as a judge for probably way too long, 46 years altogether. For 19 of those years, I was the presiding judge in the Northwest Administrative District, 19 counties, starting in Medford and going west all the way to Boise City, starting in Enid and going south and then west through Kingfisher, over to Weatherford, way out to the far southwest corner of the state of Oklahoma. There were 26 judges in that area, and I will tell you, 25 of them were jealous beyond belief of Alva and the Charles Morton Share Trust. I heard those complaints on a regular basis before I had anything to do with Share Trust. They were jealous because of the power that this local group was able to exert to make this a better place to live. it's only proper that the Charles Morton Share Trust have a direct link to this facility. Only through the help, the support, the promise, and the wisdom of the Share Trust has Bill Johnson and other things in this community been able to flourish. There's several new additions, Madam President, that you have overseen on your campus. A great new baseball field with artificial turf, the only one in this part of the state by a small college. There is just now being completed a brand new football operation. There is a new field house that's been there for a couple of years. There is a new stadium that has been built that's just about ready for dedication. First game on that field, which is artificial turf, will be played on a Friday by a high school team from Cherokee, Oklahoma. Madam President, that is a wonderful thing. Can you imagine being from Winoka or Cherokee or even Freedom, for example, in this immediate area, and getting an opportunity to play on a brand new, never touched artificial turf stadium in a college town, in the hometown of a team that was national champions in college in 1999. Can you imagine? It's going to happen. Alva High School will continue to play all their home games on that brand new field. It is a wonderful facility, and you need to see it. And all of these last 2 minutes or so I say simply because I want to brag. That's not true. Along with the stadium is a brand new press box. It's about 10 or 20,000 square feet, located right on the 50-yard line. Tall enough that it requires an elevator to get from ground level to the top of it. I don't think it's there yet, but it will be in the next 2 or 3 or 4 days. There will be, in foot-high letters on the top shelf of that broadcast unit, there will be the words, Dean Linder Press Box. Madam President, we've seen a lot of, a lot of wonderful things. One of them is seated in the back row next to the man in the purple shirt, one of the greatest wide receivers that Northwestern ever had. He has changed jobs. He is now one of 3 former deputy wardens at this facility who have become wardens. Randy Parker was here earlier. I'm not sure. Randy is right here. Janet is here. Oh, incidentally, Mr. Parker was the warden at what was always, as I grew up, called the State Reformatory. Janet is the warden in Hominy, Oklahoma. Is this a pretty good place to learn how to do business? The director pointed it out. You can't in and of it yourself, individually or even in a small group, accomplish very much. It takes a community effort, and there are representatives from several communities that are here today that have dedicated their lives to making life better for other people. It's braggadocious, but I will tell you, as a judge, as a former prosecutor, I have no hesitancy in saying this is the bell cow in Oklahoma when it comes to housing, treating, training what I have always called inmates, and they're called trainees here. Do you know, let me touch on a couple of things in getting ready to close. There has been, for a number of years, an educational program at BJCC. Do you know how many GEDs have been earned and awarded at Bill Johnson Correction Center? I was furnished with a figure yesterday that is it's just astronomical, but I believe that it's true because nobody connected with BJCC would ever tell anything but the truth. I believe there have been over 3,000 GEDs earned by people that were housed here at this facility. There was a gentleman's agreement years ago that there would be no violent offenders housed at BJCC. That probably flies in the face of some decisions that would have been differently decided by some people, not necessarily this man. But I will tell you, I used to have a really good friend from a town south of here. He was a district judge for about 20 years, and he had a person in his community that needed to be, in the judge's opinion, housed at BJCC, and by God, it was going to happen. Well, by God, he was informed that there was a deal made before this facility was ever built, that there would be no violent offenders. I promise not to say lots of things about you today, Janet, because you're one of my heroes. We talked and decided that maybe I needed the honor of telling the judge, no, you are not going to house that prisoner there. A gentleman's agreement, a ladies' agreement was made, it was kept, it is kept, and so far as I know, it will always be kept. It is a wonderful thing to say you have been an integral part in seeing that number of people earn, not have given to them, but earn a GED so that they can be a full citizen in the state of Oklahoma. I heard one time that it's certainly better to be a has-been than a never was. And I'm trying to transition from that one thing to the other right now. I thank you very much for your attention.
Judge, thank you so much. You know, nobody can share or even begin to capture this story but you, and I thank you for being a very important part of today. We have such a rich history, and I can tell you, I have learned so much about what public service means by getting to work with people like Judge Linder and the people on our advisory board. And I think that's a message to all of us, you know, that we got to ask ourselves, you know, what are we doing? You know, what public service do we do? Because that's really what it's about. Okay, we've got a couple more things, some folks that we want to get up here really quick. I forgot to mention Liz Smith and Jen McDermott were on our advisory council, and they were here, but they had to leave. So I certainly don't want any of those special people not to go acknowledged. I'm going to change the order a little bit. Renee, where's Renee? Okay, so bear with me here. I haven't forgot. I understand Speaker Hickman. Again, we have some things that we weren't planning, but apparently I need to bring Speaker Hickman up for some additional comments.
Well, you might as well just stay right here. No worries, that'll save us time if you don't go sit down. The director handed out quite a few citations, but there's a couple more that we wanted to present. It's an honor for me to get to sit here and be with legends that I grew up with. When you grew up listening to the voice of the Rangers, Dean Linder, and when you grew up with the people that have made this community happen, the Benson family and Jim Holder and the Slinky Seven, as Judge Linder referred to them, and to hear that story, it's wonderful to get to come back and celebrate. And Representative Maddox will tell you, in the short time you get to serve in opportunities like the state legislature, there's 101 members of the House, there's 48 members of the Senate. You don't get very many opportunities to do this. There are people who will serve, well, now it's no more than 12 years, but who would have served for 20, 30, 40 years in the state legislature, and they don't get to leave and have a legacy like my predecessor, Elmer Maddox, would have had in working with the leaders of this community to do something. This just doesn't happen. And I just want to convey to that, to have an opportunity to do something like this is very rare for any member of the legislature, and particularly today, very, very rare. And so it is an honor for me to get to stand here, not only as Speaker of the House, but particularly as the state representative for this district, as someone who grew up in this area and got to be really raised by many people in this room that are part of this community. It's pretty special to get to be part of it. But the thanks goes to the people seated here in this front row, the Benson family, Elmer Maddox, Jim Holder, the Share Trust, and that's what we're here to celebrate today. And in recognition of that, it is my privilege to present a citation on behalf of the House Representatives and the State Senate, signed by myself as Speaker and by Senator Marlette for the Correctional Center, in recognition of 20 years of rehabilitating offenders suffering from drug and alcohol addiction, and the mission that the Director Patton talked about earlier. And so, Warden, this is to display here. And this is the other surprise that, again, you tell us not to do, but it's not very rare that you have a warden that is here on opening day and is here 20 years later. Mr. Director, if you transfer her now. Those meetings you talk about where I'm a strong ally and supporter and defender of the Department of Corrections, it is a tough budget year. It'll be even tougher if she's not here. Her leadership has made this not only a successful place, but I know a place that is enjoyable for our staff that have devoted their lives to making a difference, to come to work each and every day, and made an amazing difference, as Judge Linder said, in thousands of lives, people that have left here to be able to contribute to society. And it really is public service. It really is a contribution to our state. And I believe that it's a contribution that is probably not matched by very many people. And it's sure not exceeded, maybe matched but not exceeded in what Janice Melton has done for not only this community but for our entire state with her service, serving here as the leader since it opened. And I won't read the entire citation, but it mentions Warden Janice Melton, her guidance, encouragement, sent many people from the facility back into society to lead productive and healthy lives. That's really what it's all about here. That's the mission of all the people in this room, the people that make a living here, that have made a life out of working here, the people who have supported this community. And Warden Melton, thank you for being the steward of this place. On behalf of all of the people in this room that made this happen from opening day, and thank you for devoting your life to your career to the Bill Johnson Correctional Center.
Wow. Okay. You know, the only thing I asked of Judge Linder and everybody. It's like, our theme today is the staff. And so I am so honored to be recognized, but it is about these folks. So we're going to take a shift back to who really makes it happen every day, and has for 20 years. So, okay, Renee, help me. I'm a little bit off agenda here, but it's all been good. I think at this time, we wanted to have just some comments, and Randy Parker, brief comments about from some of our firsts, because we didn't know who would be able to come today, but we have a lot of Bill Johnson's firsts, and I mean our first deputy warden, our first chief, our first
group of department heads.
Pick it up from here.
Go sit down. Get out of here. I tried to tell these people, please don't give her credit because she'll fall completely off of her agenda. Bless her heart. I know she doesn't like to accept appreciation, but the truth to the matter is we are all great followers because she's a great leader. Does anyone disagree? I would also like to thank the cadets for attending their first History 101 course with the Bill Johnson Correctional Center. It was a very nice one. When we talked about this event, the warden, I'm repeating her, we wanted to do the throwback. We bragged for several years because approximately 30% of our staff were original. I happened to miss the cutoff by about 6 weeks, and I've suffered envy ever since. The only good news I can say about that right now is there's only 5 left, then I'll be next. Yay me! No. But the truth is, this is a wonderful place to work. When I first started working here, Larry Fields was the director. I met him in Central Control Hallway, and he looked at me and he said, so could you please tell me, what do you think of your job? And I said, actually, it's very rewarding. And he went, what? Say that again. And I said, it's very rewarding. He goes, could you please explain that? And I said, well, number one, I never thought I'd ever work in a prison. Number two, I never thought working in a prison would be a positive thing. But you know what? Every day I come to work and good things happen. At this time, I would like to mention and point out some of the original department heads. I think we have a few more current, but some of those that I remember from the past, the 3 fearless leaders that I recall first would be Mr. Parker. He was the first deputy warden. I see Mark Williams. He was the first fearless chief of security. And then there was Terry Martin, which he was unable to attend. He was our original program director. Among the other department heads, I seen Gerald Gilbert. He was our first business manager. And it was like a reunion. I came down the hall trying to get to that taco pylon, and I seen him. I'm like, hi! It's amazing how many people were able to attend today. Another person here, nobody will ever replace this guy. Where is Kenny King? Stand up, Kenny King. That is the very first staff member ever to work at BJCC. Woo! He was the maintenance superintendent. So, Kenny, I want you to know, every time when we go to replace something, we can't figure out why it was built that way, we talk about you.
We have a warranty 1 year.
Yeah. That's okay.
There was nothing but a hayfield here.
Absolutely.
I got here. And we brought it in.
Yes, you did, and you did a fine job. And it's still standing. It is still standing. We're doing good. Also among us is Ted Durfee. I think this guy was our first unit manager and promoted to deputy. Did I miss anybody else? Pardon? Patch. Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. Gosh, that was on the back side. Warden. I'm just teasing. I know we're running over time here, so I'm going to introduce our next speaker. And I wrote this story down because this person had a very big impact on my career. He's very philosophical, and I come from a background of having to be motivated. One of the memories I have of way back when is Mr. Parker used to remind staff that building the BJCC empire, it was fun. Yes, people are motivated now, he said. Everybody's full of energy building something that's never been built before. But he said, be prepared and have a plan, because when the construction is over, staying motivated would be much more difficult. Keeping people energized and moving is going to be very hard. And man, was he right. Eventually, Mr. Parker started scheduling motivational meetings with his staff. I still have a small orange tractor, and every time, it's about this tall. Yeah, don't have much detail, but it's got wheels. Now I lost my place, darn tractor. I still have a small tractor. And every time I look at it, I remember Mr. Parker and his philosophical words. The tractor is a major piece of equipment and relevant for the duties of a farm. Without a tractor, the work would be much harder and much less would be done. Mr. Parker said, us leaders needed to be very good tractors. I invited Mr. Parker to share with us yet one more motivational story. Mr. Parker came to us on day one, served as our deputy warden. He promoted to population, where he served as population coordinator in 1999. Mr. Parker retired in 2014 and currently works with the Transitional Living faith-based program in Fairview, Oklahoma. Please welcome Mr. Parker.
20 years ago, the Department of Corrections had a vision. And that vision was, we're going to build a prison. And when the prison is finally funded and it's built, we're going to take that prison and we're going to put it in a place that, first of all, will welcome us. Because there's a lot of communities where prisons aren't welcome and you're not welcome. And so what the department said was, we are going to meet the needs of the biggest issue that we have. And that is the state was overrun with drug offenders and alcoholics. And today, we still have that same problem. We still have that same major issue dealing with those people. But the Department of Corrections said we're going to put it in a place where we will be able to deal with the inmates in such a way to where when they come to the prison, they actually come to the program. Now, you have to keep in mind, I had never heard of that before. I'd never heard that the prison itself would be the program. So when a person came to the program, now there was a lot of good programs out there, but you have to keep in mind, they were units that were separate, and they were within the unit. This whole facility is a whole new concept, a whole new idea. It was something brand new, never done before. And so, in order to take all those great ideas and the structure, the discipline, the regimentation, put all that together, then have the cognitive behavior training and move them people through there, and then move to the third phase, all that couldn't happen until the place was built. And I tell you, rolling up here and getting out and walking around looking, I thought, maybe I can call and go back somewhere else. Because this was a daunting challenge, because you had to build the facility. And when I got here, the chief got here shortly afterwards, and then other people began to show. Of course, the warden was first here, a day ahead of me. But there was a group of inmates who were living here that was working here, and those maintenance people, they had a whole different idea of how things were going to be run than what me and the chief had. We had a whole different way of running things. But you know what? With all the arguments and with all the discipline, all the problems we had, we still got along and we still did it, and nobody got seriously injured. They really didn't. And after that was built, or it was about built, I remember very, very clearly it was about built, and we were planning on opening up about the end of October, and we had a plan to where the first phase of the construction be done. And then once it was done, then we'd move all those inmates out and move all these program inmates in, and we got the word, oh no, you're going to open up September 5th. Well, we still had inmates here working, and we brought in the other inmates, and there was, I think, 8 or 10 that come in that first time. And then, I got word that some of the construction inmates were not being very nice, and they were being rather rude to some of the program inmates. So I went over and had a chat with them, and I explained, sir, you need to stop doing that. You need to be very polite. What are you smiling at, Jason? I was like that. I was very calm. I was very quiet. I never got excited, and I just explained to those young men that when they woke up the next day stuffed inside of a locker box somewhere near Granite, they could make their way to the facility. And you know what? They straightened up pretty good. But see, it was a whole new concept. And not only were we building the prison, we had to hire all the staff, and a lot of staff come from other facilities, and they had all these ideas and all this great knowledge. And they had to be told, no, that's how you did it there, but this is a whole different way. We're going to do it differently. It's separately now. This is something different. We have a different mission. And then we had to hire staff and got them off the streets and got them trained, and it was difficult and it was hard training Janice Melton, I'm telling you. That is a hard-headed woman. She just would not listen. But we finally got her trained, and she's done all right. She's done okay. The department had a vision. We was going to do something different. We was going to do something completely different. We're going to build a prison, but we're going to build it in a place that actually wants us. And trust me, as much as I've bounced around and some of you others have bounced around, you find out that there's some people that they don't like you because you're one of them. But to build a prison that was a program, that was such a unique thing. And it worked very well. And when I look back at how strict I may have been a little bit, I may have been a little bit rigid, but the reason for that was because you guys were crazy. You were hard to work with. But to set that standard, and we set that standard high, and I know the chief and I, Terry Martin and Rick, the warden, all of us would talk, and that standard was set right here. This was the bar. It was high. And we would talk and we'd say, man, things are tough, things are hard. You know, maybe we ought to back off a little bit. Maybe we need to bring that down and make things easier because, trust me, we had some flare-ups out here. We had some people here that did not want to be here, and they let you know that. And when they finally had enough, there was a little bit of a disturbance, and it got taken care of. But what we talked about was, should we drop that bar just a little bit? No, we didn't. We went ahead. The first year of this operation was what we call the year from hell. It was tough because there had been no benchmark. There was nothing out there. Nobody had ever gone through the drug camp and graduated. And these inmates had done time before, and they had never done time like this before. And it was hard every day. What am I going to get out of this? What are you going to do for me? I tell you what you're going to get. You're going to get absolutely nothing. You're going to come to this program and you're going to do the program. You're going to do what you're supposed to do. You're not going to worry about the Lord. You're not going to worry about your mama. You're going to do this program because you're screwed up. You stick a gun in a man's face and you take his money away from him so you can go get drugs. That's not acceptable behavior in Oklahoma. And they said, well, can I get parole? Well, I don't know. When you go to the parole board, we'll find out. I'm not going to promise you nothing. The emphasis on this program, when it got started, was for that inmate to make those changes in his life. Then he could find the Lord. Then he could take care of his family. He can't take care of himself unless he's straight. And that's what this program did. And that's what this program does. And I believe that because in the very beginning, the chief was so rigid on his thought, and Terry Martin was very rigid, and the warden was we never dropped that bar. We made the inmates come up to it. Staff members came up to it. They met the bar, and they did. And there were many times that first year I'd go home and I'd think, oh my God, I ain't going back. I'm not doing that no more. It's hard. It's difficult. Not only that, but I can't hardly deal with them inmates anymore. Because the staff was coming together, and it took time. And they did. They finally came together. They finally worked together. Because the thing that they were told from the very beginning is the structure is important. The regimentation is important. The treatment is important. The education is important. The work is important. All that together. But not one is more important than the other. And that's what makes the program work. And that's why it works today, is because that same vision, that same philosophy is still there. That bar is still high. And I'm here to tell you the program works. The program works, and it works efficiently. It works very well. You will probably never know how many people leave this facility and never come back, never go back to drugs. We will never know that. We know those people that go out there and for whatever reason they fail, they've gone back to crime, they've relapsed. But that doesn't mean the program doesn't work. That means that they didn't let the program work for them. They took a shortcut. They took an easy way out. The program works if you allow it to work. It's just like this state. We need a vision on crime and punishment. We can't keep blaming the legislature for not giving us enough money. We can't keep blaming the judges because they send too many people. We can't keep blaming the police and the DHS and the mental health. We have to come together as a state and come up with a vision and decide what crime and punishment is. And it'll be hard. And I don't want no part of it. But I know you're not going to get agreement. You're going to get fights, and you're going to have... But we need to start somewhere, because what we're doing now, it's not working anymore. Hard on crime, tough on crime, all that hard nose, that's not working anymore. It's not. We need to come together as a state, not Republican, not Democrat. As a state, come together, decide what crime and punishment is. And if it's sentencing reform, if it's whatever, that it needs to be done. Just like this facility was a vision, and it became a reality. And it continues to work because of people like Mark Williams, Terry Martin, Jason Bryant, Rick Corneli, Christy, all you guys out there that I hired. I did. You can say thank you later. This facility works, and it works very well. And I'm glad to be a part of it. I'm glad I was here. And I'm glad that it is still working. And for you guys that talk to some of these old guys out here, they exaggerate stories. I didn't do all those things. I really didn't. Thank you. I'll see you in 20 years.
Okay, we didn't make our 2 o'clock mark, but we are on the home stretch. You know, there's just so many people I've learned a lot from, but Randy and I are like, if you know either of us, right, we are polar opposites. And, you know, we struggled the first few years appreciating each other very much. But, you know, the takeaway from that is that it is the variety of personalities, it is the variety of skills that really created, you know, Bill Johnson, and I think created any successful endeavor. And we have such a tapestry of staff that have brought something unique, and I so appreciate everything that each one of you guys have done and are doing today. Randy was a great partner. He really was. So, you know, he had the vision, and I'm like, you want to what? You know, because I'm really kind of concrete. No, if I can't see it, it can't be true. And so, yeah, so between the two, you know, he had the vision, and we had staff that could pull it together. So it was a great experience. So, okay, I think we have had all former staff. I would like where did they go? Help me here. Did we have the original staff that are here today stand? Did we do that already?
Not yet.
Okay, original staff that were here on 9/5/95 that are left. All right, that is awesome. Okay, those of you that are still working, of the original staff, stay standing. Okay, all right. So it's a smaller, a dwindling group. But I think that's pretty amazing. And again, I thank you all for coming back. You know, the former staff are laying the foundation. The current staff are for continuing the agenda forward. We were going to do just some open remarks, but I really feel like people have covered so many parts of what we do, and we really are out of time. I want to thank the staff. You know, the current staff are, you know, I think all correction staff, you know, are very challenged these days, and I appreciate the leadership that we have in our board, our director's leadership. But I want to thank them all because, you know, it is hard hanging on sometimes to a mission when you know we could do so much more. but you can't ever take away what we're doing every day, and I think we forget to remember that every day we're making a difference. And just because we can see all the possibilities doesn't take a minute away from the good things that we're doing every day. Yesterday and I forgot to count up, Marlene, where's Marlene? How many reaccreditations have we had? Do the math real quick. Okay. So yesterday, we every 3 years, we go through a reaccreditation with the American Correctional Association that measures us against national standards. And so, in spite of all the challenges, be it staffing, be it resources, we've received our 6th, 7th, something like that, reaccreditation. We got 100% on the mandatory standards, 99.3 on the non-mandatories, only 3 standards we missed on some physical plant things. So this staff continues to perform at a very high level, and I want to thank all of them again for a successful audit, besides what they do every day. A few other staff that started here that I do want to acknowledge that, I think it is significant that there have been some staff, besides the folks that started here that have gone on to be wardens, Jason and Janet and Randy. We had staff go on to be former chiefs, and we have Kelly Schrock started here and became a chief, and Mike Pugh, he's still here. He's retired, but he left here and became a chief. I think there's another one that's not here, Tate. So, truly people do lift each other up here and really mentor each other, and I'd like to think that they have gone out and kind of had their own traditions and made their mark. And I thank them for caring enough to carry the message forward beyond their experience here. Renee, thank you for planning this day's events again. And we do have a reception, and I know those of you that are going on, we'll get you out the door very quickly, and I'm going to ask you to indulge me one last time. I have really been blessed 1,000-fold being here at Bill Johnson. I got to get through this. It's a phenomenal community. It's a phenomenal staff. And I really look forward to the years ahead. And when we recognize the staff that have been a very big part of it, one of those has been my secretary. And her last day was yesterday. So she is retiring after 20 years of absolutely dedicated service and friendship. So I want y'all to recognize her. If you get a chance, wish her well. She deserves every minute of it. She has worked hard. I have worked really hard. And, she has made me better than I ever was. She made me look great when I wasn't so great, and she told me not to do things when I shouldn't. She says, don't send that email. Don't do it. Don't do it. So she has just been such a huge part of Bill Johnson. I mean, she's created the infrastructure, and I think we all know infrastructure is every bit as important as individual contributions, and how we do work. She has set the tone for that. So Jerry, I know I kept her late lots of times, and he never seemed to mind. He probably did, but I appreciate your having her on loan to me for these last 20 years. And she's my neighbor still, so we get to have a relationship on a different level now. But anyway, she's got her own cake at the table. So in addition to our anniversary, we've got a little farewell cake for her as well. So Connie, you got to come up. This is not a gifty thing. I just want you. I got her a card, and I just wanted to share the card if I can get through this. Wishing you a blessed and happy retirement. True happiness comes from a job well done, dear friends, warm memories, and knowing that you can move on to the next phase of life with a contented and peaceful heart. You've always cultivated the best in yourself and in those around you. You deserve to celebrate your retirement for a lifetime of doing your job well. So God bless you. And so today is special for many reasons, but I think it's a great day to celebrate the 20 years, and it's a great day to celebrate our wonderful staff and Connie being a model of the wonderful staff. Okay, thank you all for coming, and please go enjoy cake.